Let's talk about what to do with all these friggin' Legos. That and more in this episode of Dad Chat.
Just want to finish these chats with Dad. Dad, I just want to chat with you some more.
Welcome to another episode of Dad Chat.
Dad stuff, okay?
For everything dads need to know about business, life, news, and doing everything they need to do to take over the world.
Take over the world.
And still get home in time for dinner.
Time for dinner, sweetie.
With your hosts, Greg Roulette and Matthew Goldfarb.
All right, it's time for some dadding and some chatting. Greg here with Matt, bringing you your weekly dose of insight, ideas, articles, and news for dads who are trying to take over the world and still get home in time for dinner. Matthew, what's going on, man?
I am doing really well, and I'm more excited about the chatting than the dadding personally. But no, I'm ready to rock. Let's get into the meat of stuff, and let's see what's going on in this world.
Let's get into it, and we're going to kick this one off with if you're a dad of a boy, well, probably a boy. You never know in today's society, but probably a boy. You have hundreds, if not thousands of these on the floor. You have likely, in the middle of the night, stepped on one and cursed yourself silly. We're talking about Legos, and Wired magazine just posted a really cool article sharing a way to donate your old Lego bricks. I don't know about you, but I feel like I have more Legos in my house than the Lego store does at times. What's your Lego situation like over there? Are you and just Nate just Legoland, or are you Legos hasn't quite crept in yet over there?
Dude, Lego's out of control here. I've run out of room for Legos. I've gotten to the point where there's no room, and he just had his birthday, and we told friends no Legos because there's literally no room left, and it's out of control.
So does he build like sets, like he buys the Spider-Man set and he just makes the Spider-Man set, or is he imaginative enough where he's just got millions of bricks and he can just I don't know, I'm just gonna take random stuff and start putting it together? Like where's he at on that kind of spectrum?
He does both. I mean, we have plenty of sets. We've bought, we have a lot of Ninjago stuff, a lot of superhero stuff, but then he also likes to just take random stuff and make crazy vehicles. And something I had done like a year ago on eBay, I bought like 300 random bricks that somebody had washed and put together so we could just make weird, crazy stuff. So we like to do a little bit of mixture of stuff. And as much as he likes the sets, I actually think he likes just kind of the crazy, weird flights of fancy that he creates and then makes up a story of all the different pieces. What about you guys?
I kind of wish that they were more into like just being creative on their own. They build sets and then we need to buy them more sets, right? Oh, we built this one. Now we need to go. I'm like, dude, like play with that one for like 5 minutes. But they're totally into sets. We own more than any human being should own. We are helping Legos stock stay in business. Jen's even built 2 Lego tables. So she's gone to IKEA and bought like a table from IKEA, and then on Amazon, I guess, bought like the Lego flooring, I guess, and like glues it on there. And we have 2 Lego tables, one in their bedroom and one in the playroom. And there's Legos everywhere. So what I like about this article is that there now is a way, and it looks like it's actually from Lego, set this up, a company or a partnership called Replay, where you can attempt to redistribute donated Lego pieces to classrooms and kids in need. I think that's awesome. The hard part for me is I don't know that we're ready to donate any of them yet. I mean, at some point when they age up or something like that, but if I was like, hey, pick a bin of Legos that you don't want anymore, we're going to go recycle them. My kids might look at me like I'm crazy and, want nothing to do with that.
No, it's totally and trying to have a conversation with a kid about what to get rid of is a nightmare, because in their minds, they're absolutely going to use it again, even if they haven't played with it in 6 months. And so right now, kind of what we do is, if I have like a big set or a ship that he's not playing with, I'll take it apart. I'll put it into like a Ziploc bag with the instructions so that theoretically one day he'll do it again, even though he hasn't. But yeah, I mean, I feel like at this point it's not going to happen, but at some point in the future it could. And so I think it's a great way to give back if you have kids who don't need them anymore, and give them to kids who need, and also doing it in a way that it's you're not just like dumping them off. Like they're going to be clean, they're going to be made nicely and organized. And I was actually just kind of impressed that Lego is the one who's doing it, because obviously their mission is to sell more plastic, and to be able to not make money on something is a good faith play. So I thought it was really cool.
Yeah, there's some cool initiatives here in what Lego's trying to do, not just with the replay and kind of recycling these Legos to kids who need them, but also they're trying to make their products completely sustainable by 2030. They're trying to use some better plastics. Their production process is running 100% on renewable energy. So yes, while they are contributing to the plastic in the world, it sounds like they're trying to do good. It sounds like they're at least trying to, pay attention to what's happening in the world, even though they're selling a plastic product at the end of the day. So big ups to Lego for doing that. And we'll make sure we link that over there for you guys to check out in the show notes. And our next kind of piece here comes from Distractify, really cool site that you found. And it says, Dad creates app that locks kids' phone until they message their parents back. Dude, would you use something like that? Like, would you lock your kids out of their phone until they text you back?
I would hope I would never have to, but I think neither of us have kids yet who are probably at that point of having a phone, but I think it's not far off. I realize that if I give my kid a phone, 90% of the time he's not going to use it for what it's intended, because he'll probably get an iPhone. But to me, it is a privilege, and it is primarily a communication device. So I would hope that when I give my kid a phone, I'm going to say, listen, the only things I ask are, if I call you, you pick up, and if I text you, you respond. And it's not really asking a lot. And if those basic things you can't do, then yeah, I'm going to put some kind of a restriction on it. I have friends, she has two 14-year-olds, and basically that's the rules that she has. And if the kids can't listen to it, she'll take the phone away for not a problem. So if it's kind of like a little bit of a training tool, it might feel a little bit extreme, but I'm not opposed to this. I don't think this is I think it's a really interesting idea. What are your thoughts?
Yeah. So the app is called Respond ASAP, ASAP. And I actually, as much as I can make fun of it and, talk about how you don't need it, I actually see the application of it. And especially if they're at a friend's house or and you're just like, hey man, I'm just trying to check in on you. Like, are you cool? I think you want to have that trust with your kids, but man, I think in today's day and age, if you shut down your kid's phone, you've shut down their whole life. And if all you're asking for them is to respond, man, the power is back in the parents' hands. I think that I would use this. I think that it's probably something that hopefully you only have to use once and then never have to use it again. But it's kind of a smart idea. Kudos to this dad who put it together. His son probably needs it a lot more than our kids, hopefully.
Yeah. I mean, like you said, you're right. It's hopefully you do it once, but if you have a good relationship with your kid, it's like, look, I'm not going to ask a ton of you. This is what I'm asking. And if you just do this, then we don't have a problem. But if you can't do this basic thing, then, a phone is a privilege. It's not something I want them to take for granted.
So moving to kind of the next piece and kind of changing lanes. This is an article from Business Insider that I found, and it says he's a CEO who writes 9,200 employee birthday cards a year. And he talks about the value of gratitude. His name is Sheldon Yellen, CEO of the property restoration company, Belfour Holdings, Inc. So speaking from someone who just had a birthday on Sunday, I can tell you that I got 0 physical cards and like 100 million Facebook messages and, things to my inbox or text messages of like, happy birthday. But I can tell you that there is definitely a significant difference in someone spending the time to say, write you a birthday card and then in 8 seconds write you a Facebook message that literally just says happy birthday. No thought, no personalization, no nothing, just your Facebook notification comes up. I really think this guy, hopefully he's got, his business handled to where he has time to write these things. But the act of it, I think is fundamentally really, really cool. Because the thought, the time, the personalization, it is going above and beyond. I think it's super cool.
Yeah, I love this. I mean, it's interesting if you read the story. He talks about how he was hired by his brother-in-law and he thought that maybe people were going to think there was nepotism and he was only given special treatment. And so he started the cards just as a way to build a relationship with people and say, I'm my own person, and kind of build camaraderie. And then it just kind of exploded into this other thing. And this has definitely taken it to the extreme. But there really is, in a digital age, nothing that's more powerful than a handwritten note from somebody. And, we always kind of go through, like with Nate's birthday is, are we going to send thank you notes? Are we just going to send a text or a picture? And even if it's a short note, the fact that somebody takes that time out of their day to do it says a lot, and it has such a powerful impact. And especially when it's handwritten. I know there was kind of, what was it, like send out cards or something that people did. And to me,
Oh yeah.
I hated it because it was just, you're like, great. So a printer printed handwriting, but it didn't feel the same. So I thought this was great. And I think, for kids, taking a few minutes to do something, and as parents too, just saying thank you, it has a huge impact, and people remember those things.
So something that we're doing, and Jen's much better at staying on top of it than I am, but I really respect that we're teaching our kids to do it, are like thank you notes, like after birthday parties for all your birthday presents, handwriting them, running down the street to deliver them to buddies and mailing them. But just that act of just making them show appreciation and gratitude and saying thanks. It's in and along those same lines. And I think it's a lost art. It's really important. I know as a business owner, one of the things that I do a lot of is when we welcome new people into our programs, I have these special note cards that I've created with branding and stuff on them. We make them look nice, but just the simple act of, hey, Matt, welcome to the program. Excited to have you on board, Greg. And, it takes me 10 seconds to fill out. I give it to somebody in my office. They mail it out for me. But it just goes to show, like, I care about you more than just a text message. Like, another kind of quick sidebar story. So Dan Kennedy, right? So someone that I've learned a lot from, I know you have as well. We've both been to seminars with him together. So he makes people fax him, right? If you want to talk to Dan Kennedy, you have to send him a fax or a FedEx, one of the two. And you're like, well, that's just archaic and that's just stupid. But his logic, if you really follow the logic, is really sound. Because if you could just, and this is how we take it for granted, we can just fire off a text message or an email without much thought. I can just fire off an email, whether it's I'm angry, whether I'm mad, whether something is wrong or something's great. I can just quickly fire off an email, and there's not much thought that went into it. But if I know that I have to send a fax or a FedEx and he only reads it once a week and I need a response, do you know how much better that communication piece is going to be? Because you really put some thought and some time and attention into the message, and you were intentional in your message, as opposed to firing off the text, happy birthday. This CEO in this story, just the sheer act of spending 30 seconds, a minute, 2 minutes thinking about that one employee, just it adds so much more intention to the communication versus just the mechanical, happy birthday or thank you, or even just the people who fire off pissed off emails and pissed off, reviews online. If you have to fax or FedEx something, you think so much more about it. And I think that part of this, writing the thank you notes, writing the birthday cards, writing some of these things, it makes you have some more intent and purpose in your communication that you don't have in kind of the digital communication.
Well said. Well said.
Faux show.
Moving on.
Well, Christmas is right around the corner. Are you jumping on the bandwagon of not giving your kids any Christmas presents this year? Because apparently that's a thing. And Pop Sugar has an article why I'm not giving my kids any Christmas presents this year, and I think there's a lot of people who are starting to jump in on this. What's your stance on Christmas and presents, or Hanukkah and presents, and whatever you want to celebrate and presents? Are you doing presents?
Yeah, I don't think I'm not at the point of not giving presents. I definitely know my kid is zeroed in on the concept of it. But what I did like in this article was kind of the reasoning behind it, kind of this, this whole idea of Christmas being an overwhelm and, buying kids all these presents that they're not really going to care about in a year's time and not even play with, and rather putting that money towards other things and kind of creating experiences. I do agree with that. It's kind of hard, though, when you realize how quickly you imprint on the kids, like the love of getting presents and the love of things. So I think we're still going to celebrate Hanukkah. But I think there's an interesting piece, and I don't know if I have the fortitude at this moment to say to Nate, hey, we're not going to do any Hanukkah presents. I don't know if I could handle the backlash from it just yet. I don't know what you're thinking. I feel like your Christmas is probably more expensive than my Hanukkah, though.
My Christmas is off the chain. And so a couple things. A is we plan for it, right? So it's not a free-for-all spending in just December. Jen is way better than I am because I'm just like, it's December 23rd. What are we going to do? She's much more methodical about it and, is planning throughout the year, is looking for sales, is looking for deal. And it's almost like a game to her as far as the buying side. Part of me, I'm a big experience over things person, but I also like things. And I don't think it has to be an either or. Like if I want a nice pair of shoes and I want to go on a trip, if you've created the financial means for yourself, go for it. As long as you're not putting yourself into crazy debt. Like the part I don't like about Christmas is the people who will put $10,000 on credit cards and then take an entire year to pay it off just to put 10,000. Like that to me is not very smart. But if you have the means, and that is a way that you want to celebrate, your hard work, the things that you do to spoil your kid. Like, I don't see anything wrong with it. Again, but it goes back to rooting it in your values and the things that you care about, making sure that they say thank you, making sure that they're using. Like, there's a lot of that goes into it. But I'm fortunate enough that we put ourselves into a cool position in life where, I can't just go, buy 87 Xboxes and PlayStations, but if I can get them a couple things for the holidays and we can enjoy it and then we can have a nice day out and an experience, like let's do it. Let's celebrate. I work effing hard, and there's things like, birthdays, there's things like summer vacation, and there's things like Christmas that allow me as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, high performer, if you want to call it that it allows me to kind of turn off, be present with the kids, and gifts are a part of that. And I that's just something that I'm kind of okay with. Will that change? Maybe. I don't know. But right now, we kind of enjoy the holidays and, seeing the look on their face, opening, presents after presents. And now with 3 kids, oh my God, like just more wrapping paper. We spend probably more in wrapping paper than we do in presents now. It's literally insane.
Yeah. And we always joke because I can't wrap for the life of me. Like my wrapping is usually a big disaster. But I think you're spot on. I think it's about the intention. And I think for a lot of people, Christmas and Hanukkah, it's an experience. And so, you may not get your kids as many presents, but you do something that you can do within your means. And I think it's an important thing. And for everyone listening, if you hear any barking in the background, that's Dad Chat mascot Gola, who is in agreement with everything we're saying and felt that she needs to be heard.
I like it. And so talking about, Christmas, one thing that we have to do in Christmas is lie to our kids about Santa Claus. So we lie to our kids for a few years till they figure it out, and then they're super disappointed. But one thing in this article from People with Kristen Bell and Dax Shepard is they don't dumb it down. They say we pretty much tell them anything if they ask us. We don't dumb it down. If Kristen and I are known publicly for any aspect of parenting, it is that. And it's interesting. There's a show I'm watching right now. I think it's on CBS. It's called The Unicorn. Really, really good show. And the dad, his wife, I think she passed away. And he has 2 daughters, and they're at dinner with some of their friends, things like that. And a conversation comes up about, lying to their kids. And the dad of kind of the main character of the show is like, I never lie to my kids. And then the 2 other central characters are like, that's all we do. We cook them food and we lie to them, and it's just, it's just, there's some, perspectives where, you're sheltering them, from some of the realities. Sometimes you're just, lying to them because you don't want to do something for them. Like there's the little white lies of the, Dad, can you get us some Oreos? And I'm like, we're out of them, knowing darn well that there's a whole box of them in the other, pantry. I just don't feel like getting them. So, I think that Dax and Kristen are talking probably about a little bit more serious stuff here than just some Oreos. But, from our perspective, we look at, I want to educate them as much as we can and get them ready for the real world, for life, for whatever comes their way. But there's also things that, not ready to have those conversations about. And so we do, whether we sidestep it, we change the subject, we, tell those white lies, as much as I want to say that we try to, have kind of that philosophy, I don't think that we're there yet. Where are you at kind of on that? If Nate asks something, how just straight up with him are you versus having to finagle that conversation?
Yeah, I think it's a mix. So I know we had talked, maybe it was like in our second episode about the smoking thing and, how I kind of had to have an honest conversation with him about it because in order to kind of explain death and other things. And so there are definitely some things that I do try to be completely honest. And then there are certain things, like you said, like white lies, or it feels like too much work at the moment to get into. And so it is definitely a case by case basis. The one thing that was interesting in the article was they were talking, Kristen Bell was talking about how their daughter asked where babies came from. And she said that Dax Shepard gave a, quote, very clinical sex talk. And then basically halfway through the second sentence, she got bored and just walked away. And I thought that was a really funny way of, like sometimes like when you just like, I think the problem is sometimes when you don't tell the truth, or you kind of dance around things, it becomes even more interesting and exciting versus when you just kind of like say, this is the reason that it's happening, or this is what that is. And then kids are like, oh, that's really not that interesting. So I'm just gonna walk away from it. And so it's always this, it's this balance. And it is funny because I definitely never try to lie, but like, the tooth fairy, he's like, well, the tooth fairy is real, right? And I was like, oh yeah, of course. And he's like, well, how does the tooth fairy know when to come? And you find yourself telling these elaborate lies. And I always try to tell people like, I try not to lie in my life because remembering lies is so much more work than just telling the truth.
Oh, wow.
So it's like, well, how do they know? I'm like, well, they have a special, phone that says when a kid loses a tooth. And they're like, well, what if a kid is lying? I was like, well, no, they can tell about it. And how do they get in the house? And, all these different things. And you finally just want to be like, all right, it's just me. But, you also don't want to take away the excitement of it.
Some of the magic.
And so it's always this double-edged sword. But I do like this piece of like, when I tell them something and it's not nearly as exciting as he thought, then they're like, oh, all right, well, let's move on. And so it's this balance.
Yeah. Well, speaking of the tooth fairy, our next article from CNN is about that old tooth fairy. So we're talking about a bunch of liars and mythical creatures in this episode here today. This article says a first grader lost his tooth, literally. So his principal vouched for him to the tooth fairy. It's just a really cute story, but it's just, like proof. We got to prove things, whether it's in marketing, whether it's in sales, whether it's like this kid needed to make his case to the tooth fairy, panicked, and his principal wrote him a note. So the tooth fairy, he could put it under his pillow and say, hey, this is why I don't have my tooth. So please still give me my money. I think it's a really, really cute story. And I think it's just funny how kids like panic over these types of situations. Like, oh no, now the tooth fairy, I don't have my tooth. Like he's not gonna hook me up with my, $1, $5. I don't know what the going rate for the tooth fairy is these days, but really cute story here.
Yeah. This actually happened to us too, where Nate lost a tooth one night when he was sleeping, and I think he swallowed it, but he same reaction. He got all upset and everything. And I had to write a letter to the tooth fairy basically saying, Nate had his tooth, it fell out. I vouch for him as his parent. And so please still give him his money and know that it's there. And then, of course, so I wrote a letter to myself, and then it worked. And I still have the note. It's really funny. But yeah, it's just, it's kids. They want that proof. And this was just a really cute story. And we'll link to this one so you guys can see it. It's a funny one.
So what's so somehow Colton hasn't lost a tooth yet. So I know it's coming. It's like any day, any week now, whatever. What's the going rate for the tooth fairy these days? Like back in our day, like I got $1, and I was happy about it. I feel like if we gave him $1 now, he would kind of not even care about the tooth fairy anymore.
So the only advice I'm going to have for you and for anyone who's got kids who haven't lost a tooth yet is carry singles, have singles at home, because if you don't, you may find yourself having to drop a $5 bill, and then that becomes the new norm. And that totally happened to me because I didn't have it. And so I gave him a $5 bill, and now he thinks that every time he loses a tooth, we're going to go to Sizzler and get a lobster dinner. So I'm going to go with, $1 I think is fine for a young kid, but I totally screwed that one up. So have some singles on hand just in case, because otherwise suddenly every tooth becomes an ordeal, and when you might want to put that money towards braces at some point in the future.
Yeah, so it's just setting the precedent, right? If you drop the 5 or the 10, like that's now the barrier to entry.
Yeah.
So don't screw yourself. Don't screw yourself there. All right, so a career that was not a career when you and I were growing up that is now apparently legit, like super legit, is being a YouTuber. And I've been following this kid for a while now. I saw this article from recordonline.com, but there's tons of articles about this kid. According to Forbes, and their data isn't always perfect, but take it within, even if it's plus or minus $10 million. This kid, Ryan, they say, according to Forbes, made $22 million reviewing toys last year. Let that sink in. $22 million opening boxes of toys and talking about them on YouTube to the internet. He's got 22.1 million subscribers. He's been doing it since March 2015, so 4 years in. His videos have been watched 26 billion times. Dude, that's staggering. And this is like, that's like unheard of. Like, I'm like Marv, I'm like, oh my God, like I just want to open toy boxes. And I spent all weekend after reading this with Colton being like, what can we do, man? Can we like open packs of Topps baseball cards and like review baseball cards all weekend? Like what can we do? And like talk about people's player stats and stuff. Like we need to get on this $22 million a year train.
Yeah, dude, I just find myself flabbergasted. I mean, it's awesome. And it's kind of crazy that we live in a world where this exists. And Nate is obsessed. He watches like Minecraft videos and like, wants to have me record him playing and do videos like that. I don't even know what to say to this. Yeah, I'm with you. It's such a weird world we live in where you get people who work 100 hours a week to make, 100 grand. And then you get some 7-year-old who, because some way did something in a certain way, just makes all this money, and their parents now, their whole life is basically supporting the channel. I don't even have an opinion. It's mind boggling to me. And I mean, good for them. I have to, like, I'm with you. We have to figure something out that's going to be engaging.
So that was my question for you, and completely throwing this curveball your way. But like, if you were either you and Nate, or Nate were going to start a review channel, what would you guys review? Like what would be your go-to?
Oh my God, I don't know. I don't even have an answer. It could be Legos. It could be he's into melty beads. Do you guys do those?
We don't do those. No.
They're like these pieces of plastic. So they're these pieces of like little plastic beads, and you put them like on a thing to organize them, and you make like all kinds of crazy shapes, and then you iron them. And it's like a huge thing. Like you get them at like Michael's. We bought like a big Batman thing and did that. I think some stuff like that he would really love. But yeah, I don't even know, man. I have to think about it, because Legos feels like everybody would do Legos. But
well, and then the second thing is, while you're building the channel, you got to keep buying more Legos to review. So like you could be not just learning how to film and edit and get it on YouTube and get a subscriber. Like if you're doing weekly, you got to buy a new Lego set every week. Like that's what I was starting to think about. Like if we did like baseball cards or whatever it is, like we would be spending hundreds to thousands of dollars in baseball cards to build this channel up, and then what, with the hopes that Topps sends us a box of free cards, at some point, like that's the payout. Like, and so it was just, man, like this is it sounds much easier than I think it is in reality. And I think this kid deserves what he's put in the hard work. His mom now works on it full time. Like he deserves it. But this is a much harder career than I think a lot of people think it is. Like, oh, let me just talk to the camera and put a video on YouTube. Like it's not that. There's so much more that goes into it.
Yeah. And I remember I was watching one of your show, The Ambitious Adventures, and I apologize if I get it wrong, but I remember you met with, was it Jake Paul? And, we're talking about like, all the different things about how to create like a viral video. And there's a lot of science to it in terms of kind of how to organize and structure and edit and all those things. And yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, this kid probably gets free toys and stuff, but it's expensive, to the point that when Nate was younger, he used to watch these kind of opening videos, and we stopped because all he wanted to do was buy all these toys, which is the point of doing it. And so, yeah, it's a fascinating world that we live in, that a 7-year-old is making so much money, more than anybody. And, good on them.
Exactly. Good on them. And if you're starting a YouTube channel with your kid, let us know. We'll shout you guys out in the next episode. Just let us know on social media what your channel is, what you guys talk about, and we'll talk about you on the next episode of Dad Chat. Let's end this one with a fun one. You sent me this link. to a video over the weekend from our good friends at Saturday Night Live, who had an incredible skit. Why don't you give a little bit of the backstory? And I was rolling on the floor watching this when you sent it to me. It was just brilliantly done.
So this was done 2 weeks ago. David Harbour was the guest. He's the cop from Stranger Things, kind of this gruff guy. And basically, the concept of the video was a commercial for the father-son podcasting kit. And the premise is like, being a dad is hard and talking to your kid is hard. And if you have conversations you don't want to have, why not do it, in the structure of a podcast? And it was like, the whole joke was, basically, you get this dual microphone set up so the father and son can sit next to each other and have a conversation. And it was just so spot on about how you set up a podcast, kind of the flow of it and having conversations. And they even had a joke about making a commercial break for like Squarespace or something. And I don't know, I just thought it was spot on in terms of the proliferation of podcasts everywhere, but also just considering what we talk about and our kids, it was just such a beautifully well done and executed piece. And it has like all these awkward pauses and kind of those awkward conversations that you're having with the kids. And I was like you, when I saw it, I fell on the floor laughing. And so the first thing I did when it came out, I was like, you have to see this one because it's amazing and it's ridiculous.
Oh, it was so good. And like you said, like it's funny because like I consider myself like a little bit introverted, even though like I come across as high energy and things like that on these podcasts. But it was so true that like, if I'm just talking to my friends, I'm kind of like, yeah, it's kind of cool. And, and as soon as you put me on a podcast, you ask me a question, I'm like, yeah, it's awesome. Let's go, And it was just funny how like, the dad and the son can't have a conversation in real life, but put two microphones in front of them and they go off. And I think the funniest thing was what you said about the Squarespace thing was like, when the son makes it too real, break into a commercial break. This conversation is brought to you by Squarespace. And then they go back. It's brilliant. You need to watch it. We'll link to it in the show notes, but it was brilliantly done by Saturday Night Live. And it's kind of real with our society here today is regular people are getting super comfortable using different media like podcasts, like video, like Instagram Live, Facebook Live. And that is a way that this generation is communicating, with their parents, with themselves, with, all kinds of different folks. And so, there's a lot of reality and realness in the comedy that people aren't having real conversations. They're having conversations via Facebook Live or Instagram stories or Snapchat or whatever it is. And so I think there is a innate realness, an underlying realness to that video as well.
Yeah. And I think you said it best, the piece about when things get too real, like kind of having an alternate way to communicate. And yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. And I also do agree with you that people are becoming more real and more vulnerable, and podcasting, just in the same way sometimes with our business, when we share about our lives, it's a way to kind of break down the walls and bring people together. And I think something interesting, maybe we'll play with at some point is getting our little monsters to have some interaction within this, because then you can kind of see it in context of real life. But it was just such a beautifully done video. And so I'm excited for if people haven't seen it, like definitely check this out because it's a good one and it's really well done.
Yep. And if obviously you're digging this podcast, some of the things that Matt and I are talking about, make sure you do a couple things. Yes, we're going to make you do some work, our very blatant call to action. Make sure you go onto the iTunes if you're listening on iTunes and tap the 5 stars if you're enjoying some of this. Even more so than that, drop a review. The review could literally be a smiley face. It could be great job, guys, or you guys suck. Whatever you guys want to say. But we would really appreciate it. It's how we're showing up in the charts and getting in front of more people, in front of more dads who are doing the same things that you're trying to do, who are trying to not just get by, but who are really trying to do incredibly ambitious things in their personal life, their professional life, and still be home in time for dinner so they can be there for those important moments. So do that for us. And also screen share these episodes just as you're listening to them on your phone. Just take a screen share, put it up on Instagram, tag Matt, tag myself. All the info's in the show notes. And, again, just another way that you guys can help us get this message and get some of these ideas into more people's heads. And I think the biggest thing for both Matt and I is just the conversations around some of these topics. Some of it lighthearted, some of it is truthful, some of it is, just some ideas to help you get by in business and life. But we have a great time putting these together, and obviously we'd love to talk to even more people, more dads who are trying to take over the world and still get home in time for dinner. So there's my little blatant call to action to end today's episode. Matt, you got anything else before we take off this week?
Just the one other call to action too is, if you haven't already, whatever medium you're using, do hit the subscribe button, because this will automatically let you know when new episodes come out. And so that's definitely something you should do, because we promote stuff, but if you want to know the fastest way to new episodes coming out, just hit subscribe, and all the different softwares, they say, hey, there's a new one, so come check it out.
Yep. Smash that subscribe button, smash those 5 stars, and we'll see you guys next week on another episode of Dad Chat.